Hey, and welcome back. This is the Marketer of the Day podcast, and Mr. Aaron Walker, Big A, is back. I believe this is his third appearance, and Aaron Walker is a life and business coach. His mission is to help men transform their lives, and his leading core value is relationships matter most. And he is all about going in with no excuses to make it amazing and knowing that everything is figure outable. So we are going to have so much fun. It'll be so profound. We'll discover some of life's secrets from Mr. Aaron Walker. Big A, glad to have you back.
Robert, thanks for having me back, man. Not often you get invited back twice, much less three times. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's like on Saturday Night Live, they have like the five timers club, right? You're the three timers
Yeah.
club. So what the heck have you been up to in the last, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years since we last connected?
Yeah.
What has been your passion and your focus?
The same as my focus has been for 10 years now, mastermind groups. We have 150 men, 5 different countries around the world now, 15 mastermind groups, and there's no slowing down. So a lot of guys out there need unbiased, trusted advisors, and we aim to give it to them. So yeah, mastermind groups, 25 years now, I've been involved in a mastermind group every single week. And I know the transformational experience it can give you. And so that's what our life's mission is.
And what is that experience like? Because you think about when you meet and you can kind of have the two-way experience, like you can give back, and sometimes someone else has a problem that you can't put words to, and then when you're in the hot seat, you get all these differing opinions, and that's just what comes to mind. But in your own kind of words and experience, the magic of a mastermind, what's it all about?
Yeah, let me go back and give a little context to those that are unfamiliar with me. So 25 years ago, I met a guy here in Nashville that was starting a radio show. His name's Dave Ramsey. And Dave and I became friends, and I sponsored his show for about 21 years. And out of that became a relationship. And back in the early 2000s, he invited me to join his mastermind group. And I said, Dave, I don't even know what a mastermind group is. Like, what is that? And he said, well, you come to my office Wednesday morning and I'll hook you up with the guys and let you know what it's about. So I did. And man, Robert, I can't even begin to tell you how reserved I was at first because I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to be transparent. I didn't want other people to know that I had issues that I needed to work on. And so for about the first 90 days, I was pretty quiet. I just sat there and kind of listened. And the more I listened, the more vulnerable these guys were and the more transparent they were. And one of them had a child that was involved in some things they shouldn't. There were some cash flow issues. There were some relationship problems. And I came home and told Robin, my wife, I said, listen, I've really found a group of guys that are willing to be vulnerable and transparent. It's a little frightening to me, but I think I'm going to lean into this and embrace it. And I did. And we spent the next 12 years meeting in Dave's office. And when I retired 13 years ago, I decided that I was going to do a little coaching, and I did, and started doing some podcast interviews like this one. And people started calling me, wanting me to coach them one on one. Finally, I had so many people that I couldn't coach them one on one. So I started a mastermind group, and I was only going to do one group. And that turned into two groups, and that's turned into 15 groups. And so now we're helping people really understand how to be the whole man. And what I mean by that is focusing personal, professional, and spiritual, every regard of your life. We have 5 pillars within our community that we really pay attention to. That's personal, professional, relational, spiritual, and financial. We all deal with those at some level. And so for me, I wanted to help people understand how they could be successful in every arena of their life. So yeah, 10 guys, virtual commitment, twice a year in person. We're changing lives.
I love it. And what's great about the way you laid that out is that there's kind of you're hitting the problem from different angles, right? There's like the structural part, there's kind of the, well, I can work on this or that pillar, and there's also like the easing into it part where, as you said, you were a little like reluctant, nervous at first, and you just kind of kept attending, and then eventually it broke down the barriers. And you hear this a lot as far as with things like depression or addiction or like just the breaking free of the cycles. If you're just alone and you don't have that support system, then it just things kind of slowly get worse, or you're not aware of what needs fixing. And then when you have that kind of community, then maybe not magically, but somehow over time things get better. And so, like as far as these masterminds and these meetings, are there any sort of ahas that are worth mentioning? Anything that maybe you can't share the specifics, but as far as like the breakthroughs that have come from this, like what sounds good to share?
Yeah, well, I could go on for days sharing stories, and I can share stories, but not necessarily names. What most people come for is business because I've owned 14 businesses over the course of my 45-year career. And what they realize is there needs to be a firm foundation personally first. And if you really offer up your family on the altar of gaining more tangible possessions, titles, financial wherewithal, you really still go home a loser. And I did that. I came home with a pocket full of money to a house full of strangers about 25 years ago. And fortunately, I was able to rectify that and resolve that situation and really become the husband and dad that I had committed to being before I had committed to being in the marketplace. And so some of the aha moments are is you do self-reflection. You really understand there's some challenges that we each need to work on. If we want to be honest, we're all kind of knuckleheads. There's things that we all need to work on. But once you get that firm foundation, then you can say, hey, I'm going to have boundaries around the work that I do. I'm going to have certain guardrails that allow me not to lose my family. And your little boy wants to pitch baseball, but you've got another sales presentation, or your wife wants a date night, but you've got a client you've got to take care of. And before long, those people find other relationships and other people that will pour into their life. And you end up making a lot of money, but you've got a house full of strangers, even if they're still there. And I'm like, I don't want other, excuse me, I don't want other guys to experience that kind of loss because I was headed down that path. And so some of the successes, though, financially, we had a really cool success story happen recently. Two brothers joined ISI about 4 years ago. Iron Sharpens Iron is the name of our community. One of them was a state trooper, and the other one worked for an air conditioning company. They wanted to buy property. They bought two or three little condos or duplexes before they got in. I don't remember which one it was, but they said, we want to learn to scale this. Well, in a 4 year period, they just bought their 500th house because the guys have taught them how to scale the business. They've enlisted other investors as a result of that. Another little guy came and joined. He was 27 years old. And he said, hey, I want to buy 40 houses by the time I'm 40. I think that's a pretty aspirational goal. He was 27 at the time. We just had our live event back in October, and he was happy to announce that he's 31 now. He just bought his 197th house. Well, for a guy 31 years old, that's pretty good. $16 million now that he's acquired in property, all because of his mastermind group. Really helped him remain focused. They gave him scaling principles and they taught him how to make money. And so when you have extreme accountability weekly, you have a strategy, you have a plan. We created a program called Come As You Will Be. And what we do is really have aspirational goals in those 5 key areas of your life. And there's immense accountability on the heels of it. You do the task every single week and the goal takes care of itself. And so it's hard to do that in isolation. You mentioned that a while ago. And I always say that isolation is the enemy of excellence. And if you really want to excel, we were designed to be in community. That's the way God designed us. We didn't design us to be in isolation. And so, yeah, if you really want to excel in life, you need to go further with the community.
And I tell myself that all the time, and it's so easy, right? When you're working from home or being an entrepreneur, even just like we're doing now, right? Like I tell myself, well, I've got these appointments, and I need to go to them, just if nothing else, to have the interaction that's not just the usual same old stuff and same old people and same old thoughts and same old actions. And so, kind of digesting what you're telling me here. So you're saying that what we need to be thinking a lot about are things like the foundations. And I love that about Dave Ramsey. I think I listen to him about 4 or 5 times a day, all the little clips on YouTube. And usually when someone calls in, they think they have some like great, crazy new idea. And
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
nope, here's this thing. Here's his principle. The
Sure.
borrower is slave to the lender. And he like just explains things like just very, very simply. And so that's one thing to think about is that kind of the foundations. And you also mentioned, I'm kind of making inventory here about the boundaries. And that
Yeah.
took me even, I don't think I figured that out until maybe even like 3 years ago. Just this
Yeah.
idea that you drive yourself crazy thinking like, well, I have a business, I want to have freedom. Do I really need to have like these working hours, or do you really need to say like I'll be on here and off there? And it's like, well, if you want some consistency, then probably yes, right? If you want a business that consistently grows and makes money and is better every year, then you need to be putting this focus and energy into it. And you and I both know that the boundaries go both ways, right? You say, well, I'll be working on my business here and I'll be doing the family stuff there. And so that way, by having the walls in place, you can say, I don't have the not working guilty, and I'm also kind of spending time with my family. And so I'm also digesting what you said here, how important it is to have these big aspirational goals and announce them to the group, and have the focus and revisit it and have the extreme accountability. And success is not guaranteed, but it seems like without having the simplicity that we're talking about and without the masterminds, it seems like a lot of people just are missing these really basic things, right? Like it's simple enough for us to talk about them, but it's really hard to implement. And so, like, what holds people back from implementing? Like, you have the peer pressure of the group and the extreme accountability, but is there sometimes the difficulty in saying, well, I have this goal or I have this plan, but then actually putting into action, sometimes there's a problem. So can you maybe tell us about
Sure.
that problem and what we can do?
Yeah, that's a great question. We all procrastinate. And if there's no accountability, we'll always kick the can down the road. Well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. And that always puts us in a difficult position of playing catch up. But if you say to your group and you come and you make your presentation and you say, these are the things I want to accomplish, whatever they are, doesn't matter to me. My job is to help you accomplish the life that you want to live. But my responsibility is to hold you accountable to what you said you wanted to do. Now, I don't know about you, but if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I'm not going to show up and not have done it. But if I didn't have any accountability, there was nobody there. I hired a trainer at the gym. Well, I know what to do at the gym, but I know if I'm paying money, I'm going to show up 3 days a week at the gym. If I don't have the trainer, nobody's there, nobody knows. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm not going today. Well, that's not going to serve me well. It's the same thing fundamentally, principally in business. It's like, I know these things I need to do, but I think I'll go hang out with the wife and watch TV and go to a movie and take a nap. And you're like, no, I said I was going to commit to doing these things. And when you have that intense accountability every single week, a lot of people meet in their masterminds once a month. Well, I don't know about you, Robert, but a lot of life happens for me weekly. Like by the time a month rolls around, I've already forgotten what it is that was the trial in my personal life, and I've already dealt with it. We go to the next thing. Then the people around you don't have context. And if you don't have context, you can't help people. I went and had coffee with a buddy recently at Starbucks, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a condo down in Fort Lauderdale. My granddaughter goes to school at West Palm Beach, and thinking about buying that condo. What do you think? And he said, how much is it? And I said, well, it's right on the beach, 2 bedroom. It's $1 million. And he thought for a minute. And he goes, yeah, Big A, I think you should do that. And I said, why do you think I should do that? He said, well, you said you wanted one. And I said, yeah, but do you think I should? He goes, well, you've owned all these businesses and you appear to be successful. And yeah, I think you should. You see, here's what I told him. I said, first of all, you've never met Robin. You don't know Brooke and Holly, my 2 daughters. You've never met any of my 5 grandchildren. You don't know anything about my superpowers, my kryptonite, my blind spots. And you sure don't know anything about my finances. He said, no, I don't. And I said, you really can't help me make this decision, can you? He goes, I never thought about that. You see, Robert, we do that every day. We go out to people every day and ask them to help us solve a problem, and they have no context. See, what I want to do is get advice from people that has context. They've got a filter by which they can look and help me make decisions based on all those fundamental principles that I mentioned earlier. You mentioned my core values, and I suggest everyone have core values. My first one, and I told you this, relationships matter most. For me, I look through that lens in everything I do. The next thing is no excuses. I hate excuses. Don't give me an excuse. Just own it. Man up and say, hey, I did it or I didn't do it. My team knows not to say, I didn't do it because. It's like, you didn't do it because you didn't do it. The next thing is make it amazing, right? It may not be amazing to your standards, but it's as good as I know how. The next thing is everything is figure outable. Like, I don't know what it looks like right now. We're going to figure it out, but I can't figure it out alone because I've only got one life experience. You see, when you're in mastermind groups, it gives you a number of things. It first gives you access. It second of all gives you accountability. Then you get resources, and then you get the perspective. And to me, the most valuable asset to a mastermind is someone else's perspective. It's because if you already knew how to do it, you would have already done it. And so you don't know what you don't know. And we need people around us that can look at what we're doing, punch holes in it. We can fail faster, we can fail forward, and we can go out here and be very, very successful. What little bit of success I've had, I can attribute 80% of it to the mastermind group, because I'd rather be embarrassed in front of 10 people than I had the world. Or I'd rather make a small investment in something that they can prove me to be wrong or right, rather than investing a fortune in something that's proven to be not available to the market. And so I want to be in a group. I'll always be in a group, and they've given me this level of success.
Well, I find all of that to be very helpful, that you get these extra perspectives and you get the context from people who, I mean, I guess you wouldn't say that they know you better than you know yourself, but as you said, they see the blind spots and the kryptonites, and maybe they even can speak to the superpowers that you
Sure.
maybe don't even know you have, or don't admit as much as you have. And I love this core values concept. And how do you arrive at that? Is this something that maybe you revisit, thinking about over time based on what
Oh, I
others
don't think
say?
about it
How
over
do you come
time.
across these?
Yeah, I've got it on my wall. It's in stainless steel. It's on a plaque right here. Every decision I make is run through that filter.
But what I
And
mean
you
is,
see,
how do you go from not having it to having
oh
these
yeah,
core
great
values?
question. Here's the thing. I get tickled. A lot of people say their core values are honesty and integrity and character. I'm like, that's just the fundamentals for being a human, right? We all have to have that.
You're,
What
you're,
is
li- you're
unique
listing the Boy
to
Scout
you?
motto at that
Yeah,
point,
that's it. I
right?
mean, we all should have be men of character. We all should have integrity. We like really. If you don't have that, I don't want to even do business with you to begin with. But what you've got to say is what is unique to you, you as an individual. Like I love people. I'm very relational. Like I know a lot of people because I'm very intentional in relationships. And then I don't want to halfway do it, right? I want to make it amazing. Like I don't even know yet how it's going to look, but I want to do the best I can. I can't lay there in bed at night and go, I could have done it better. I don't want to do that. I want to leave it all on the field, squeeze every drop out of the towel. I want to give it all I've got. Now, tomorrow I may learn a different way or a better way, and I'll go back and modify it. The other thing is excuses. I get so tired. I went and had coffee with a buddy and I got there late and he goes, Big A, you're late. And I said, Yeah, I know. I got a good excuse. And he said, Really? Because he knows I don't do excuses. And I said, Yeah, I forgot you. That's my excuse. I didn't put you in my calendar. And so I'm late because I forgot. I owned it. People respect people that own it. Don't come in here and give me a bunch of excuses. And then the other thing is I grew up a really poor kid. We didn't have anything. I was broker than a convict when I was a kid. And I said, you know what? There's a better way to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm going to figure it out. And it's putting in that determination, that perseverance. It's like, don't give up. Right, let's figure it out. I don't know what it's going to look like today. It may look different than I had originally planned, but we can make it amazing. Don't offer those excuses and get in there and figure it out. And then finally, I'm a Christ follower. And so truth before opinion is my last core value. And what that means is I look in God's word. There's 66 books in the Bible, and I look through that to get my answers, and then your opinion matters to me. So it's just fundamentally the way I live life, and it's the way I measure everything. You've got to have those core values and run every decision that you make through them.
And you hear about this idea of core values in a business, but to have it for your own personality, your own personal life, that's great. And it seems like your process there of getting there is think about like your emotions, and especially things like regret or anger, or how far you've come since your childhood, or just how you felt on the bad days, so that way you can learn from them. And so as far as you becoming a better person, right? You and me both, every day we're trying to be better. What are you currently working on? Like, what are you strengthening?
Yeah, in all five areas. I do Come As You Will Be vision every single year. I just finished it this past week and I'm ready to go for 2024. That's when we're recording this. And I know exactly what it is personally that I want to accomplish. I know professionally, I know relationally, spiritually, and financially. I've got aspirational goals 1 year, 3 year, 10 year. We know exactly what it is that we want to do. I want to live proactively, not reactively. I wrote a document called What Do I Want? And in that document, it specifically asks you very direct questions like, what is it that you want to do in your life? Most people don't know. I ask that question often, and people go, I don't really know what I want. Well, how are you going to know when you won? If you don't know what you want, how are you going to know when you've succeeded? And so it just really makes you think. Listen, it is so much more enjoyable, Robert, to live your life proactively, to aspire to do the things that you want to do and not let other people hold you down and push through those glass ceilings, those barriers that people put around you and go, you know what? You're not in charge of my life. I'm going to accomplish these things. And this is how I'm going to do it. And have those bucket lists and the goals that you've maybe created with your spouse or your business partner, and say, what is it that we can do to accomplish this life, so that at the end of it, we won't have any regrets. We can look back and say, we left it all on the field.
Amazing. And we need to be doing that. We need to leave it on the field, get some of these things in writing, be introspective, and get this
Yes.
self-awareness. And I love what you said there of if you don't know what success looks like, how will you even know it when you see it? And that's a scary place to be, right? Of not finding success or not even knowing if you're there. So we need to do it, but we also need help, right? The whole theme of our conversation has been don't go it alone. So as far as finding
Mhm.
out about you and your business and your mastermind and kind of joining this group, that way you have this kind of test area, as you said, right? You can be embarrassed in the small group
Sure.
instead of make the big mistake out in the world. What's the next step here? How does someone find out about your mastermind and how do they take some action?
Yeah, thank you so much. The easiest way is to go to viewfromthetop.com. There's an application to join the mastermind there. Fill out the application. It comes directly to me. We spend 40 minutes on a video conference call, really diving into what it is that you want to do. There's no commitment by filling out the application. It just puts you in front of me for an hour, and we'll really dive in to see if we can be of benefit. There's no strong arming. There's no force selling. I mean, if you're designed to be in our community, you're going to be in it. If you're not, then hey, maybe I can point you in a direction to give you some help. But just go to viewfromthetop.com. Check us out there. Also, you can sign up for our podcast, View from the Top podcast. So I'd love to have you as a listener there. Yeah, reach out. I'd love to talk to you.
Amazing. So viewfromthetop.com is the place to go to find out about that podcast and that mastermind. And so Mr. Big A, you have all these ideas and keywords, and you've written all these things and spoken about all these things. As far as a final soundbite, I always like to ask
Mm,
my guests for a quote or lesson that has helped them
mm.
or can really help us right now. So what just pops out of your cerebral cortex as far as a quote or lesson?
Yeah, people are always afraid. They're very timid. And I'm like, hey, I don't know why I'm not afraid, but I always say fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure. And if you go out there today and really focus, live intentionally, live forward, you too can have great success and significance. So fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure.
That's incredible. And so viewfromthetop.com is the place to go right now as we are fearing missing the opportunity greater than fearing the failure. That way we're pulled towards the future, not being pushed from the past. Viewfromthetop.com. Mr. Aaron Walker, Big A, great seeing you again.
You too, Robert. We'll see you, buddy.